I walked into our apartment on a random Tuesday afternoon. I wasn't supposed to be home. My shift had been canceled last minute. As I opened the door, I heard laughter. Hers. And his. When I turned the corner into the living room, I saw her, my wife of 3 years, naked from the waist down, sitting on our couch, riding the building's janitor. She looked me straight in the eye and laughed. She always used to say Tuesdays were her deep clean days. I didn't ask questions. She worked from home, and I figured she'd just like to tidy space. I had no idea she was the one getting deep cleaned. My name's Alan. I'm 32, married for 3 years. Before that, we dated for 2. Her name's Rebecca. Blonde. Smiles with her eyes. At least, she used to. We live in a decent apartment in Phoenix. Nothing flashy, but not cheap either. I work maintenance at a data center. Long shifts. Nights, weekends. Not glamorous. But I paid the bills. Last Tuesday, my 12-hour shift was canceled. System update delay. I didn't tell Rebecca. Figured I'd surprise her. Maybe bring lunch. Maybe catch her dancing to one of those trashy cleaning playlists she loved. I unlocked the door quietly, balancing the paper bag of burritos and smoothies. First thing I noticed was the scent. Sweat. Then I heard it. A low grunt. Then her laugh. I moved fast toward the sound. Living room. What I saw froze me. Rebecca was straddling a man. Mid-thrust. Our couch, the one I spent a month's wages on. Her eyes met mine. No guilt. Just amusement. The man? It took me a second to process. His name's Hector. The building janitor. Mid-50s. Grimy fingernails. Uniform still half on. His name tag literally hanging sideways as he scrambled off her. Hey babe, she said. Back early. Like nothing happened. I didn't say a word. I dropped the bag. The smoothie spilled. Beans and guac hit the floor. Hector tried to pull his pants up, but tripped over his own bootlaces. I told you not to come on Tuesdays, she muttered, not even trying to cover herself. That's on you. I wanted to scream. Instead, I backed out of the room. Slowly. Calmly. She didn't chase me. Just grabbed her phone and chuckled. I sat in the stairwell for 2 hours. I heard them leave, separately. I waited another 30 minutes, just to be sure. Then I went back inside. It smelled like sweat and betrayal. I threw the couch cushions off the balcony. Hauled the whole frame into the parking lot. Left it by the dumpster. Fitting, really. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling wondering how long this had been going on. What other Tuesdays had been lies? How many men? How many laughs? And mostly, how stupid I must have looked, standing there like some clueless idiot while my wife got her kicks from a man who unclogs toilets for a living. But that wasn't even the worst part. She wasn't sorry. She enjoyed it. And that's when I knew I wasn't going to walk away quietly. Not this time. I didn't tell anyone for the first 2 days. Not my brother. Not my coworker Mark, who's been through 2 divorces. Not even my mother, who always thought Rebecca was too modern. I just sat with it. Let it rot inside me. On Friday, she came home around 6, like nothing had changed. Walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, took out a beer. You're still here? She said, like I was a stain on the floor she forgot to mop up. I had half a speech prepared. About how much I loved her. About how I was willing to understand if it was just once. About how we could maybe get help. Therapy. Something. But she didn't give me the chance. You gonna cry again? She asked, tilting her head and squinting like she couldn't believe how pathetic I was. You've been walking around all quiet and tragic, like a dog who found out Santa isn't real. I didn't respond. I just looked at her. And that annoyed her more than anything. Oh, come on, Alan. Grow up. It's not like I slept with your brother or your boss. It was Hector. You should be thanking me for keeping it low tier. Why him? I asked quietly. She shrugged. Because he's not you. That one hit like a punch. Then she walked right past me and turned on the TV. You're such a good guy, Alan. Too good. Too predictable. You'd never hurt me, and I knew that. I mean, I could be gone every Tuesday, and you wouldn't even ask. You're a safe bet. Like plain oatmeal. I sat down at the dining table, heart racing, hands shaking, still trying to figure out whether she was serious. You know what your problem is? She said, still watching some trash reality show. You actually thought I'd stay happy with just you forever. Like, how naive can a person be? She turned to me, half laughing. You're so trusting. It's honestly adorable. Like watching a puppy try to bark. That night, I slept on the floor of the guest room. Not because she told me to, but because I couldn't bear the idea of sharing a bed with her again. I heard her laughing to someone on the phone around midnight. A man's voice in the background. Next morning, I tried again. I told her I still loved her, that maybe we could start fresh, that I'd forgive her if she ended it. She didn't even look up from her phone. Forgive me, she repeated, then laughed. Alan, you don't forgive people. You just bury your head and hope the storm passes. She called me a coward, said I'd never leave, said I needed her more than she needed me. And the worst part? I believed her. The next week, she started going out more. Late nights. No explanations. She'd come back wearing cheap perfume and a smile I hadn't seen in months. One night she came home with her hair messed up, holding a plastic bag. Dinner, she said, dropping it on the counter. It was 2 cold gas station hot dogs. I figure that's more your level. Then she went to bed. I sat there staring at those hot dogs like they were a final verdict. She was done respecting me, done hiding, done pretending. And I still wanted her to stay. That was the lowest version of me I've ever known. But I wasn't going to stay there. Not forever. The next morning, I shaved, put on a clean shirt, went out and got my hair cut. It wasn't about looking good. It was about sending a message to myself that I wasn't done, that I still had a spine somewhere underneath the wreckage. Rebecca didn't notice. Or if she did, she didn't say a word. She just walked past me in the hallway, humming, wearing a man's hoodie that didn't belong to me. That was the moment I realized. She thought she'd broken me for good. She thought I'd just keep existing. Cooking, working, paying bills, while she ran around with janitors and delivery drivers and whoever else she could laugh about behind my back. So I made a decision. If she was going to treat me like I was disposable, I was going to show her how permanent consequences feel. I started small. First, I stopped doing her laundry. When she asked, I said I forgot. The next time, I said I didn't have time. Then I just ignored it completely. I opened a new bank account, quietly moved my direct deposit over, started draining our joint account bit by bit. Nothing flashy, just a few hundred here and there, enough to stay under her radar. She still thought I was a harmless idiot. Perfect. Then I visited a lawyer, not to file anything yet, just to talk. A guy named Ben Keller, recommended by my buddy Mark. The guy specializes in high-conflict divorce and asset shielding. I told him everything. He didn't blink. You have leverage, he said. She doesn't know you're preparing. That's your advantage. Don't confront her. Don't leave. Just gather. So I did. I bought a cheap burner phone and set it to record audio automatically every night. Left it charging under the bed. I caught her talking on speaker to someone named Ricky at 2:14 a.m. one night. She told him, quote, he's still here, playing house. I could come home with a tattooed garbage man, and he'd just offer him a beer. Ricky laughed. She laughed harder. I emailed that audio file to myself. Then I set up a camera. Just one. Hidden in a smoke detector in the hallway. She never noticed. I caught her kissing someone at the front door one Friday afternoon while I was supposed to be at work. A guy in a pest control uniform. He called her babe. She said, just lock it behind you. He won't be back till 6. I had timestamps. Faces. Video. Audio. More than enough. But I wasn't ready to make a move yet. Not just because I wanted more dirt, but because I wanted her to keep thinking she'd won. I needed her to feel safe, arrogant, untouchable. Because when someone like Rebecca thinks she's in total control, that's when she gets sloppy. That's when people say things they shouldn't, sign things they shouldn't. I started checking her emails. She'd left her laptop open. She used the same password for everything. Her birthday, reversed. It took me 10 seconds to get in. There I found something better than any video. She was helping one of her friends apply for Section 8 housing under a fake name. She listed our address as his residence. There were forged utility bills, a false lease agreement, fraud, and she was the one submitting the documents. I screenshotted every single file. Then I made a backup. 2 actually, one in the cloud, one on a USB hidden in the air vent behind the toilet. That night, I laid in bed next to her and whispered, I still love you. She laughed in the dark and said, that's what makes this so easy. And I smiled to myself, because she had no idea her world was already starting to collapse. It started with the couch, not the one she ruined with Hector. That was long gone. This was the new one, leather, $1,200, delivered last week. She bragged about how she got it on discount from a guy she met at the gym. I saw the texts. Discount wasn't the only thing he gave her. So when she went out that Thursday night to catch up with an old friend, I called a junk removal company. By the time she got home at midnight, the couch was gone. Where's the couch? She said, standing in the middle of the living room with her hands on her hips. I didn't even look up from my book. Which one? I asked. You've had so many lately. She stood there frozen for a second, then scoffed and went to the bedroom. But I saw the flicker in her eyes. That second of doubt. Like she wasn't sure what I knew. Good. The next day, I went to our landlord's office. Told them I wanted off the lease. Said I'd be moving out within 60 days. But I also slipped them a folder, copies of the falsified documents she submitted for her little Section 8 scheme. I didn't say a word. Just said, might want to read this before you renew her contract. By Monday, she got a notice taped to our door. Lease under review. Possible legal inquiry pending. She didn't say anything about it. But that night, she didn't go out. Then came the utilities. She never noticed I'd switched all the bills into her name 2 weeks earlier. It wasn't hard. The accounts were joint. I just took my name off quietly, one by one. Electricity, water, internet, gas. All hers now. 3 days later, I turned off autopay. And guess what? She forgot. Lights went out for 5 hours. She blamed the building. I blamed bad luck. Then came the real move. I sent a short email to her employer. Not a rant. Not a revenge message. Just a courteous, anonymous tip. Check if your employee Rebecca has been using her work-issued laptop to assist with fraudulent housing claims. You might find evidence under her recent PDFs folder. Screenshots attached. I used a VPN. Burner email. No trace. The next morning, she stormed into the kitchen. Someone emailed my boss, she hissed. With screenshots. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you? I looked up, blinked slow, and said, You think I'm that petty? She didn't answer. Just stared at me, breathing hard. Later that day, I saw the email pop up on her screen. Subject. HR review required. Temporary remote status approved. They didn't fire her. Not yet. But they were watching. She was unraveling. Small things. Leaving keys in the fridge. Burning her coffee. Jumping at every phone call. She didn't laugh anymore. She barely looked at me. She knew something was happening, but not what. And that was the first real taste of power I'd had in years. She'd mocked me. Laughed in my face. Played me like I was background furniture in my own life. No? Now she was checking over her shoulder. Losing sleep. Asking herself questions she couldn't answer. And I hadn't even touched the big stuff yet. This was just the warm-up. It started with a text from my boss. Hey Alan, HR flagged something strange on your background check. Can you come in early tomorrow? That didn't make sense. I'd been with the company 5 years. My record was clean. Next morning, I showed up early like he asked. They pulled me into a room with a woman from corporate and a printout on the table. It was an anonymous report, said I'd been harassing my wife, that I'd threatened to expose private materials if she didn't obey me, and had illegally accessed her work laptop. I froze. It was her. No one else would know those details. They didn't fire me, but they suspended me pending investigation. Said I'd be on unpaid leave for at least 3 weeks. I walked out of there with my hands shaking and my stomach hollow. When I got home, she was on the phone, pacing the kitchen, laughing. I didn't say a word, just stood in the doorway. She turned and said, Oh, hey, how was work? I didn't answer. She smirked. Right. Forgot. You're on vacation now. That night, she cooked dinner for the first time in weeks. Said she felt generous. I didn't eat a bite. I couldn't. My whole body was buzzing with shame. But it got worse. The next day, she changed the locks on my laptop. My personal one. I'd forgotten she had admin access. Back when I trusted her. She wiped it clean. All my files, audio, screenshots gone. The backups? She found the USB in the vent. Must have seen me go in there one day. I found it melted in the microwave, still warm. She left a note next to it. Nice try, detective. But I'm always 2 steps ahead. That broke me for real. She wasn't scared anymore. She was smiling again. Glowing, even. Like she'd survived something fatal and come out stronger. I tried to push back. Called Ben, my lawyer. He sighed. Alan, I warned you to move quietly. She's turning this into a full-on counterattack. If she keeps this up, she could accuse you of coercion. Or worse. I asked what I could do. Honestly, you might need to retreat for now. She's dug in. She's watching you. So I did. For a full week, I stayed quiet. Didn't touch her stuff. Didn't check her phone. Didn't log into anything. And during that time, she thrived. She started redecorating. Bought herself new clothes. Hosted a wine night in the apartment with some of her friends, loud, careless, like I didn't even exist. One of them was the pest control guy. I recognized his laugh. When I tried to confront her the next morning, she didn't even flinch. "Still playing the victim," she said, brushing past me. "You're really committed to the role. Honestly, it's almost inspiring." Every time I tried to stand tall, she knocked me lower. I was bleeding out legally, digitally, financially. She deleted my evidence, blocked my income, made me look like the monster. And I'll admit it, I almost gave up. Almost. But on day 9 of that silence, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a photo of her and someone else, kissing, in her office. Caption: "You should have backed off. Now she's mine." And suddenly, I saw my opening. I stared at the photo for a solid 5 minutes. Rebecca, in her office, arms around a man in business slacks and an ID badge. The same man I'd seen in her work emails months ago. Her supervisor. I didn't recognize the number the text came from, but the photo had metadata: time, date, GPS coordinates. It was real, and it was recent. She wasn't just cheating with sanitation guys and pest control now. She'd moved up. Office politics, internal HR violations, company policy bombs. She thought she destroyed my ammo. But what she didn't know, the night before she wiped my laptop, I emailed 2 files to a secure Dropbox I'd set up months ago, just in case. The USB was a decoy. The real evidence was online and untouched. I forwarded the cheating photo to the Dropbox account. Then I logged into the burner email I'd used to tip off her employer before. I sent a second email, this time to someone higher. Subject: confirmed ethics violation, employee number 442, internal affairs urgent. Attached: the photo, the timestamp, audio files of her laughing about her harmless fraud, screenshots of her messages with Ricky, a short paragraph. "This is not a disgruntled ex. This is documented internal misconduct, policy violations, and reputational risk to your brand. Suggest immediate review." I hit send. Then I waited. 2 days later, she came home early. Pale. Shaky. Didn't say a word. I didn't either. She went straight to the bedroom and closed the door. At 7:43 p.m., she opened it again. "I've been placed on leave," she said quietly. "Pending investigation." I nodded. "I know." Her eyes narrowed. "You think this means you win?" I didn't answer. But I didn't have to. The next morning, I filed a motion through bin petition for legal separation. It didn't lock anything in, but it froze our shared accounts and locked all major financial activity until review. Rebecca screamed when she found out. I mean full-blown, slamming doors, knocking over a chair. "You have no right to do this. You moved $3,000 from our joint account last month," I said. "That wasn't for groceries. I want it accounted for." "Unbelievable," she hissed. "You're trying to bankrupt me." "I'm just following procedure." She didn't talk to me for the next 3 days. On the 4th day, I got a letter from my company, reinstatement approved. Someone from HR had flagged the original report as baseless. No formal complaint had ever been filed. Turns out, her anonymous little scheme had a few holes. I was back on payroll, back in the building, and now officially in control. I came home that night to find her sitting on the floor in the living room, crying. Not big dramatic sobs, just silent. She looked up at me like she didn't recognize me, and maybe she didn't. I'd stopped asking for her attention, stopped chasing her love, stopped hoping she'd come back. She was staring at a version of me she never believed existed. "You're not the same," she whispered. "No," I said. "You killed that version." That night, I slept better than I had in months. She had lost her job. Her financial leash was locked. And her backup man? Well, the next morning I sent his employer a little anonymous envelope too. They're not so tolerant of internal fraternization over there either. I was winning now, piece by piece. It started with a knock at the door. Saturday, 10 a.m. I was halfway through coffee when I opened it and saw a woman in a business suit holding a clipboard. "Mr. Allen Moore?" "Yes." She handed me an envelope and stepped back. "You've been served." I stood there for a few seconds before opening it. Emergency restraining order request. Filed by Rebecca Moore. Grounds: emotional harassment, coercive control, digital surveillance. She'd turned the tables. Claimed I was recording her without consent, manipulating her employment, and intentionally disrupting her financial stability out of spite. It was 10 pages long, signed by a judge. Temporary hearing scheduled in 3 days. I sat down on the couch, my couch now, and tried to breathe. She wasn't trying to win the relationship anymore. She was trying to destroy me legally. I called Ben. She's not filing for divorce yet, he said. She's baiting you. Wants a violation on record. One incident. That gives her leverage, full control in court. I asked what to do. He told me. Nothing. No texts. No emails. No verbal confrontations. Stay silent. Document everything. Let the hearing play out. That night, she came home late. Saw me sitting at the table and smirked. You got the envelope? I didn't answer. She dropped her purse and leaned in close. Too close. You thought you had this in the bag, didn't you? Thought your little evidence parade made you king of the castle. I stared straight ahead. No response. Good boy. Then she walked to her room. I could feel the walls tightening. Over the next 2 days, more things started happening. Our joint car gone. She reported it stolen. Turns out, she'd transferred the title weeks ago without telling me. Used an old power of attorney form I stupidly signed last year. Next morning, I got a letter from the credit union. She'd pulled out a $6,000 personal loan tied to our shared address. Defaulting would hit both of us. And on Monday morning, my manager pulled me aside again. Alan, someone from HR flagged a complaint. Different name this time. An anonymous source claiming you bragged about leaking files from a private company. It was her again. But now she wasn't trying to discredit me. She was trying to paint me as unstable, paranoid, vengeful, obsessed. At the emergency hearing that afternoon, she showed up in a fitted gray suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup. She looked like a victim. I watched her give testimony. Tears. Time pauses. Claims about being afraid to sleep, finding USB drives hidden all over the apartment, and feeling like she was being hunted inside her own home. No mention of Hector. No mention of Ricky. No mention of her HR violations or the false report she filed about me. Just a clean, rehearsed narrative. When it was my turn to speak, the judge barely looked up. I tried to explain the deleted evidence, the retaliation, the anonymous emails. But it didn't matter. The judge said the evidence I provided was concerning, but the surveillance methods were possibly unlawful. And while no permanent order was granted, the temporary one remained in place for 30 days. I couldn't speak to her, text her, email her. I had to leave the apartment within 72 hours. I walked out of that courtroom stripped down, homeless, legally silenced. And the worst part? She smiled at me in the hallway on her way out. A full smile, like she'd just won an Oscar. The motel smelled like old water damage and despair, but it was safer than home. I'd left quietly, no arguments, no scenes. She probably thought I went crawling back to my parents. Let her. But I didn't walk away empty-handed. Before the court hearing, I'd scanned every bank statement, every document with my forged signature. She used an old power of attorney to transfer our joint vehicle into her name alone. That's felony-grade document fraud. I handed it all to Ben, my lawyer. He nodded once. This is how we get back in the game. Then I went deeper. A friend of mine from college, Greg, works IT security. I called in a favor. You still got that thing that lets you see cloud backups if someone uses a known password? I asked. He didn't ask why. Just said, send me the email and the last password you remember. 2 hours later, I had access to her entire iCloud archive. Photos, texts, notes, voice memos. And there it was. A voice memo titled, For Legal, Just in Case. I played it. It was her voice. Nervous. Rambling. If this ever gets ugly, if Alan ever flips or tries to ruin me, I just want to have this on record. Yes, I used his signature. But I had to. He would have never signed the transfer, and I needed that car for work. It was technically ours, and I was using it more, so, whatever. She confessed. In her own voice. I saved the file twice. Then once more. And then, gold. Screenshots of her texts with Ricky. One thread from 2 months ago showed her sending him a photo of me sleeping. Still doesn't know? He thinks I'm working late. Poor thing. And Ricky's reply? You ever tell him we used his toothbrush after that first night? Faced with tears of joy, I stopped reading after that. But not before I downloaded everything. At 3 a.m., I sent an anonymous email to her company's HR again. This time, from a different burner, with a zip file containing the audio confession, the falsified lease documents, timestamps showing how she used company time and devices to file fraudulent claims, and one final screenshot of her mocking their ethics training. By noon the next day, she was suspended. By 5 p.m., she was locked out of her company email. And by nightfall, she texted me for the first time in days. "Rebecca, did you send something to my job again?" I didn't respond. The next morning, I walked into Ben's office. "I want to file for full divorce," I said. "And I want to subpoena every financial account she touched in the last 6 months." Ben smiled. "That's the Alan I've been waiting for." I left his office feeling lighter than I had in months. That night, I got a call from her number. I didn't answer. Then a voicemail. Her voice was shaking. "Alan, they're investigating me for fraud. You really did it, didn't you? You think this is justice? You think you're better than me now?" I deleted the message. She'd finally realized I wasn't the man she used to mock in our kitchen. I wasn't begging. I wasn't scared. I was winning. And she was running out of places to hide. The judge ruled in her favor. I sat there, blinking slowly, trying to keep my face neutral as the words dropped like bricks. She got temporary exclusive occupancy of the apartment. She got the car, officially. The restraining order remained in place, and my motion to challenge the forged power of attorney was denied without prejudice, meaning I'd have to refile and start from scratch. She walked out of the courtroom like it was a spa day. Even gave me a wink. In the hallway, Ben leaned in. She had help. That wasn't just her lawyer in there. That language? That strategy? Someone's advising her from the inside. It made sense. Rebecca was smart, manipulative, but not this tactical. Someone was pulling strings for her. Over the next few days, it got worse. I was locked out of our shared storage unit. She had the locks changed. She reported a few of my old tools as stolen property, tools I had bought. The police actually came to the motel and asked me questions. No charges, but a report was filed. Another mark on my record. And then the message came. From my HR rep. "We've received a third-party inquiry alleging that you may have violated data privacy laws. Please contact legal immediately." That was her final play. She wasn't just trying to beat me in court. She was trying to erase me. Strip me of my job, my credibility, my name. She wanted nothing left. And I was close, so close, to giving up. Then the mail came. An envelope. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper and a folded receipt. The paper was a printout from an old email, hers, dated 5 months before she ever filed the restraining order. Subject: lease agreement fake draft. From Smith Legal Consulting @ the domain was no longer active. And the body? Let me know if you want the signatures to look more natural this time. The last ones looked rushed. Attached is the draft with his name. Your part is ready to sign. The receipt? It was from a print shop downtown, dated the day after the email. Printed item, 3 copies, modified lease, notarized signature template included. I stared at it. I hadn't sent this. I didn't know who had. But someone had. Someone who'd been watching. Someone who didn't like her games. I showed it to Ben. His eyes went wide. "She submitted this lease to the court," he said. "This version. The one with your fake signature." He looked up at me. "This is fraud. Not suspicion. Not theory. This is proof." "But who sent it?" I asked. He smiled slowly. "Does it matter?" I leaned back in my chair, heart thumping for the first time, not from anxiety, but anticipation. For the first time in months, I had her. Not just cornered. Exposed. And this time, she wouldn't see it coming. Ben moved fast. The next morning, he filed a motion to reopen the financial fraud allegations based on newly discovered evidence. The email. The print receipt. The lease. We included everything in a sealed packet for the judge, with a request for emergency review. Our motion argued that Rebecca had committed document forgery, submitted false evidence to the court, and potentially committed real estate fraud, a felony. We didn't send her a courtesy copy. Let her wake up to it. By 2 p.m., her lawyer was calling Ben nonstop. By 4, we were told she was cooperating. At 5:17 p.m., she showed up at the motel. I hadn't told her where I was staying. She must have found out from someone. Or maybe she followed me. She didn't knock. She didn't call. She stood at my door, eyes red, hands shaking. And then she dropped to her knees. Right there. On the dirty hallway carpet of a 2-star motel off I-17. "Alan, please," she whispered. "Don't go through with it. Please. You don't know what you're doing. I didn't say anything. You have every right to hate me. I know I ruined everything. I know what I did was illegal. I know. I'll confess. I'll sign whatever you want. Just don't ruin me." Tears streamed down her face. "I'll lose everything. My job. my license, my family. I'll never work again. Please, please. She looked up at me like I was the one holding the knife. And for once, I was. But I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. She had dragged me through emotional cement for months. Betrayed me, humiliated me, weaponized the law, played victim while torching my life. And now she was begging. In a broken whisper, she said, I'll withdraw the restraining order. I'll give you the apartment. I'll walk away with nothing. Just, please don't let it go public. That's what she was really afraid of. Not me. Reputation. She didn't want her perfect world to know what she really was behind the filters and the LinkedIn posts and the clean courtroom tears. I looked at her, and for the first time since that day I saw her with Hector the janitor, I felt nothing. Not love. Not hate. Just silence. I turned to my bag, pulled out a folder. Inside was a waiver, drafted by Ben. If she signed it, she forfeited any financial claim to my assets, gave up the apartment, agreed not to contest the divorce, and retracted all current court orders against me. It was brutal. She signed it, with shaking hands. And then she stood. I'm sorry, she said. I nodded once, and that was it. I didn't leak the email. I didn't send the evidence to her job. I didn't file the criminal complaint. I let her walk away. Because the truth is, I didn't need to destroy her. She did that herself. And now I could finally live again. But before she left, she turned to me in the doorway. Why didn't you go through with it? I looked at her for a long moment, and said the only thing that felt right. What would you have done in my place?